Hi and welcome back to another episode of the Canary Room. Really exciting episode in store today. We're looking at some of the new arrivals into the shed. It's always one of my favourite times of the year, going round different people's bird rooms, having a look at what they've bought and getting those very, very important acquisitions in. More of those birds later, but now we've been to Barnsley, we've threatened it for some time, we've been over to see Gerald Spencer, in my opinion, probably one of the best studs of Fife Canaries anywhere in the world. It's where my birds are based. Good friend of Gerald, spent a fair amount of time in his company over the years. Show today, sit back and enjoy. We've got a journey to Barnsley, we'll see some of Gerald's birds. We'll meet him, although I'll warn you he's a little bit camera shy, and then we'll have a look a little bit later on in the episode at some of the birds we've bought a little bit closer. As always, sit back and enjoy. We're back in the car again. It's becoming the Canary Room on wheels almost. Massive day today. We've got a trip across the Pennines, so we're going over to Barnsley for the first time since January this year. We're going to see Gerald. We're going to see Gerald's stud of birds. I'm really looking forward to it. Hoping to bring in a couple of additions as well to just strengthen the dark line. Already made some additions from Adam Kendall, a trio of very useful dark birds, a dark yellow hen and a couple of dark buff hens, so they'll be useful for me, but it's always a pleasure to go to Gerald's house. It's great to see his stud of birds. So we're going to hit the road now, a couple of hours for the journey to take us from Liverpool over to Darfield, so checking out for now, and I'll catch up with you again soon. So the journey across the Pennines is one not for the faint-hearted. It was November when I went. You can see as we're just coming down a very, very famous street in Liverpool here, before we make our way out of the city and onto the motorway. It is a real journey, and the weather along the way, as you can see from the trip, we had all elements of weather. So we had some beautiful sunshine, some thick pea soup like fog, and a touch of rain just to add in. And it's one of those things, it's about the commitment of bird keeping. We've seen the early starts in the morning. It's nice to go out and about. It's nice to see different people's sheds. It's nice to see the quality of different people's birds. So we pass Manchester and head towards Leeds. We pass the highest point of motorway in the country, which is just about when the fog hits, which you can see now. And then we pass what's affectionately known as the Little House on the Prairie. It's the house in between the two motorways on the M62, just the other side of Saddleworth. We're coming off, and you can we passed through Leeds, and we're picking up the M1 south before we get to Barnsley. We go through Barnsley to the little town of Darfield. So we've arrived. It's just taken just over 2.5 hours to get here. We're going to see what we can pick up today. Looking to strengthen the dark line. Be great to see Gerald. If we can come away with a couple of dark birds as well, the trip will have been fantastic. So we're here in Mr. Spencer's shed. He's a little bit camera shy. He's got the face for radio, some people might say. So he's just there behind me. Look, you can see him. There he is. That's about as much of him as I think we're going to get. It's a lovely setup Gerald's got. You can see the shed here. A lovely, big, bright, airy shed. The first thing that greets you is his clock from Best Champion Fife. This bird really, really caught my eye. It's a variegated yellow cock. Let you into a little secret. I've asked Gerald if I can have it at the end of the season if it's going. It's not showing itself particularly well here. There's some footage of it again in a minute, where against a white background, where it really does settle. We've got here, and it's not finished, but it's a self-blue cock. You can see it's still got some way to go round the head. Here's Gerald having a look at his show team. They're all out on the bench. The windows in front there, you can see the range and the quality of birds. This buff cock really caught my eye. Again, it's still got some way to go, but it's an absolutely lovely dark green buff cock. I think when this is finished, it'll take some real beating. I'm always fortunate when I get to Gerald's that I can go round the shed and I can have a look at different birds, see what they're, see what I like. We'll discuss birds. This bird really caught my eye, a variegated white cock. In fact, not on this trip, but on a future trip, I was lucky enough to come back with its mother. So, Gerald's just gone to make the coffee. We stay in the shed. There are some absolutely stunning birds in here. A little bit to go for some of them, but the potential is there for all to see. A couple of buff hens we'll take a look at now. Absolutely gorgeous. This is the first of the buff hens, a heavily variegated bird. An absolute beauty of a bird. Really nice. Here's a sister who is almost as good, but you can see she's not yet finished. A little bit untidy at the back, where she's still got feathers coming through. This is another buff hen bird, and this has got a tremendous amount to go, but you can see the quality there. Here's a variegated yellow cinnamon hen. Gerald's got some stunning cinnamon birds, and this one is an absolute beauty. A heavily variegated buff cock. One of the birds that Gerald is renowned for, and this is a really nice specimen. Just pulled into the services. We're on our way back from Gerald's now. 3 new additions for the Canary Room, which we'll take a closer look at a little bit later on. Absolutely delighted to have acquired one of the buff hens that we took a video of earlier. It was part of Gerald's show team. Very kind of him to let it go. A really nice heavily variegated yellow cock, plenty of leg. It had just been bathing, so difficult to see its full potential, and it's not quite finished. And then a really nice variegated, borderline heavily variegated buff hen. It's a stock bird, this bird. It's got bags of width on it, a lovely head, fantastic wing carriage. What struck me about the bird more than anything else, its shortness. I think it's probably the ideal bird to pair with the heavily variegated yellow cock we've just acquired. As with the self-green buff hen, I may run them all as a trio, I may not. I may use that self-green buff hen with the heavily variegated yellow cock that we brought in from Graham. I'll have a little look at them when I put them together back in the room. So I'm going to check out now. I'll catch up with you when we're back in the Canary Room a bit later on. We've had a little look at the journey to Gerald's, and we've had a look at his birds. We popped back a couple of weeks later to pick up one more addition. It was actually the mother to his best allied to white from the north of England. We saw that bird in the last episode, and we'll see it on the bench in the next one. I'm going to pop into the shed now and bring the birds, and we'll have a closer look at the latest additions to the Canary Room. First bird we've got, and the second heavily variegated yellow cock that we've added for next year, is here. Now you can see he's not finished yet on his head. There's still a number of pins on his head to come through. I liked the style of this bird when I saw it, and as I said earlier on in the show, it had bathed, so I took a little bit of a gamble, but I liked the style. It had tremendous leg, this bird, and a great shape to it. It's not the broadest of birds across the shoulders, but the hen that I selected, which we'll see in a couple of moments' time, to pair with it for next year, will balance that out. This bird is a really stylish, heavily variegated yellow cock. I've got two really good, heavily variegated yellow cocks now for next year to go with the blue that we had from last year. You can see it's got good position, this bird. It stands nicely. It's got nice wing carriage, and it's got that lovely nip in the neck, really good definition. It's still got some way to go. It's not finished yet. As I say, its head, you can see the pin feathers in its head, really, really clear. I've got one bird for this to run with, possibly two. It'll depend on what overwinters, so we won't really know that until the spring, but it's definitely going to go with the heavily variegated that we'll see in a couple of moments' time. The second bird that we'll see today, and a bird that I was absolutely delighted to get my hands on, is this sweet little self-green buff hen. We saw her when we were at Gerald's. She was going to be part of his show team. I managed to persuade him to part with her. A real quality addition to the stud. Nice and short. She's got that nip in the neck. She's got a great head on her, lovely width across the shoulders. There is a little mark on her chest, a little indent. She's not quite finished yet, and I'm not overly concerned about that. The bird that I'll pair her with, which is likely to be the heavily variegated yellow cock we bought in from Graham Holdsworth, doesn't have that mark on him, doesn't have that crease. As I say, I'm not overly concerned about it. It will come and go at various different times of the year, depending on where the feather is at. But across the shoulders, this bird is beautiful. The wing carriage on it is stunning. It's just a really sweet green buff hen. Really pleased to have her in the shed, as I say. I'm fingers crossed for next year. Really strengthen the green line this year. I needed to. I bought a couple of birds in from Adam Kendall, which we'll see in the next episode as we meet the rest of the birds that we bought in. But this green buff hen is an absolute little belter. If the green buff hen that we'd just seen was very much a show bird, I'd class this bird as very much a stock hen. I bought this bird with the specific purpose of pairing it with the heavily variegated yellow cock that we saw just a moment ago. This bird's wing carriage is stunning. Its feather quality is as good as you will see. It's an absolutely beautiful little stock hen. It's got a good solid head, it's got roundness all round its body, and it's got a nice free neck. It was very much a match pair. As I say, if you were to look at this bird in isolation, once it's settled properly, you may just admire it as a medium range, good okay bird. I see some real quality in this bird. Judging it up close, its position, its wing carriage, the shortness of its wings, the boldness of its head, but most importantly, and after all, that's all a bird is really, it's feather quality. The feather quality on this bird is stunning. And paired with the heavily variegated yellow cock, I'm hoping to re-establish the green line that's been so successful for me for many years. I really like this bird, and I'm really pleased to have her in the shed. So the last bird that we've got today, as part of the new team for next year, is a flighted bird. Now, the previous three have all been unflighted birds. This is a flighted bird, and it's the first time for probably 4 or 5 years that we've had a pure white bird in the shed. 4 or 5 years ago, I had a very lightly marked fawn cock bird in the shed, and it was a lovely bird that bred a couple of show winners for me. Now this bird has bred a show winner. We saw it earlier in the show. It's bred a variegated blue cock for Gerald. It's not showed itself at all here. It's not the best or typiest bird, but the challenge with the whites is to put some real shape on them. So it's in to do a job. It has got some endearing features about it. As I say, it's by no means the best type canary you'll ever see, but it's got a really nice purity of white. It's bred some very nice birds, and I've got, I think, just the cock bird to go with it for next year to breed some of my own white birds and some variegated white birds, which is the plan. So nice to have them in. Whites are always very, very nice to look at in the shed, and it's been a while since I've had one, and it's as good a white bird as I've seen, but it's not certainly as good a clear white bird as I've seen, but it's by no means, in the same league as the 2 hens that we've just seen. So that's all we've got time for today. Coming up on the next episode, we'll meet the rest of the new additions to the Canary Room, including a new pair of Norwich canaries. Don't forget, you can contact the show, info@thecanaryroom.tv, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and check out our YouTube channel. Until next time, take care.